Hello YouTube friends. We finally arrived at this day, the day where we take the papers out of the back of Agnes's quilt. So it almost feels like something's finished, but it really hasn't.
Kate Jackson didn't mean for anyone to see her. The quaint thumbnails, soft-spoken voice, and the soothing candlelight. It all started as a quiet act, a reach from a life that had already cracked at the edges. And yet in her 60s, she became YouTube's unlikely queen of calm, drawing millions into the gentle world of the last homely house. But behind the beeswax candles and hand-stitched quilts lies a secret her viewers never suspect, a shadow beneath the calm that would change everything if you knew the truth. When she first appeared on camera, it was after a period of loss, a divorce, death of a close friend, and the slow realization that the second half of her life would not unfold in the way she had once imagined. She's mentioned it in fragments, a story half told between laughter and a wistful glance toward a photograph that the camera almost catches. The quiet of her Northumberland cottage was more than just aesthetic, it was survival. Out of that stillness, she began to film herself doing the simplest of things, boiling water for tea, pressing fabric, talking about color. Those videos carried a gravity the internet didn't expect. A kind of intimacy that asked for nothing but felt like everything. And then somehow, she went viral. How does a woman who only wanted to be left alone become the internet's symbol of comfort? There's a sweetness to the story. The internet fell in love with her unfiltered honesty, her lilting northern accent, and the small world of cats, geese, and fabrics. The cottage became a living fairy tale, a place that promised a kind of rest from the chaos of modern life. Her channel, The Last Homely House. It was real, filmed with imperfect lighting and the sound of wind at the window. In a culture obsessed with perfection, she offered imperfection as an act of rebellion. But that same simplicity was also a mask. Beneath it, there was fatigue, not of making, but of being watched. When you build a brand on openness, privacy becomes a luxury you can't quite afford anymore. Fans want to see beyond her quilts. They want to see her life, past, and her pain. They wanted to know what she ate, who she loved, and what she lost. They wanted, in essence, to own a piece of her. At first, she indulged them. Who wouldn't? The kindness of strangers, letters, and the Patreon support, the packages sent from around the world. It all felt like a bomb. After years of being overlooked, here was proof that her voice mattered. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, that affection began to weigh on her. What happens when kindness turns into possession? When admiration becomes entitlement? The internet has a strange way of transforming people into ideas. Kate became the homely woman, quilter, and the comforter. She was no longer simply herself. She was a collective need projected onto a single person. The comments on her videos read like confessions. People thanked her for helping them through grief, divorce, and anxiety. Some called her their safe space. And while that love was sincere, it created a subtle pressure to stay soothing, calm, and to never break character, even though the character was just her. It's easy to romanticize solitude when it's framed through soft focus and warm light. But the truth is that solitude can be heavy, especially when it's shared with thousands of unseen eyes. There were days, she's hinted, when the house felt too quiet even as the world was watching. The paradox of online fame is that you can be universally known and profoundly lonely at the same time. Her financial life changed too. The YouTube channel turned into an online shop, a Patreon, calendars, and craft kits. For the first time, her art sustained her. The woman who once wondered how to keep the lights on now had a thriving cottage industry. Yet with success came bureaucracy, orders, packaging, emails, and inventory. What began as freedom began to resemble another job. She traded one kind of exhaustion for another. Still, she persisted. She stitched and filmed, turning her personal acts of making into public performances of comfort. Every thread became a connection, and every finished quilt was now a form of testimony. And through it all, she smiled, not falsely, but gently, as if she's determined to keep her grief from spilling into the frame. There are tiny moments where that effort falters, a tremor in her voice when she mentions a friend who would have loved this, a sigh she doesn't quite disguise when she talks about time moving too fast. It's there, between the stitches, the life that once hurt, one she's still repairing. But then came the other side of visibility, the revealing culture that blooms wherever warmth thrives too long. Strangers began to pick apart her life. Who is the real Kate Jackson? One video asked. Another promised the untold truth behind her channel. Some of these so-called investigations were nothing more than speculative commentary, amateur sleuths analyzing her tone, decor, and her absence of certain people in photos. They mistook discretion for mystery and privacy for deceit. It's an old pattern. The moment a woman builds something beautiful, someone feels compelled to unmake it. Online fame doesn't come with armor. Each whisper, "Did you see this?" carries its own sting. Kate has never directly addressed those rumors, choosing instead to retreat further into her craft. But her silence says as much as any rebuttal could. You can feel the withdrawal in her newer videos, a slight guardedness and a kind of sense that the camera is now a wall rather than a window. What do we lose when we turn someone's authenticity into entertainment? The irony, of course, is that the very thing people love her for, her openness, has been the hardest to maintain. The camera, once a friend, now demands performance. And performance, however gentle, has its costs. Sometimes you can almost sense the ache beneath her words. When she speaks about mending, you hear something more than quilting. You hear the ongoing repair of a life interrupted. When she plants bulbs in her garden, you can't help but see it as a metaphor. The act of burying things so that they might bloom again. And yet, for all the exhaustion, she keeps going. There's resilience in that, a quiet defiance that refuses to let the darker parts of her story define her. She never asked to be anyone's savior, yet she's become a symbol of endurance for thousands. It's tempting to label her life as inspiring, but that word feels too simple and sanitized. What her story really reveals is the uneasy marriage between art and exposure, how the internet can turn healing into content and content into expectation. She has spoken softly about aging, how the way society erases women over 60, and about reclaiming visibility on her own terms. There's dignity in that, but also a certain sorrow, the knowledge that even this reclaimed space is conditional, that algorithms and audiences can vanish as quickly as they came. Still, in the rhythm of her work, there's a small rebellion. Every time she presses a seam or threads a needle, she's rewriting the story that others want to tell for her. Each handmade piece becomes a kind of manifesto. I am still here. I am still making it. I am not your fantasy. I am a person. When did being yourself become a performance? The darkness of her tale is a sacrifice. It's the quiet cost of connection and knowledge that even comfort can become commodified. The same viewers who call her healing may never realize they're watching a woman trying to heal in real time. To watch her videos now is to feel a strange double exposure. One image of peace laid over another of fatigue. And yet both are true. She is peaceful, but also tired. She is grateful and also guarded. She is all of it at once. And maybe that's what makes her so magnetic. She embodies the contradictions of modern life, the desire to be seen but not consumed. If her story reveals anything, it's not deceit or hypocrisy, but the fragile ecosystem of online tenderness. It shows how beauty and exhaustion coexist, how a life lived earnestly can still become a spectacle. Maybe that's the real last homely house. Not her cottage in Northumberland, but the small, resilient space she built inside herself, slowly and steadily. And if you listen closely, between the gentle clatter of teacups and the voices of her sewing machine, you can almost hear the unspoken plea to let her be ordinary and human.